I think.
Yeah, we're
Let's
live.
see. We are live, it says. Lana, how are you?
I'm good. How are
Good.
you?
This is, I think this is a long time in the making here, something that you and I doing something together. You've been on my
Yes,
podcast quite a few times. So I thought let's kind of team up and see what we can do here together.
yes, and here we
Yes.
are.
Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself real quick and we'll start there.
Oh, I guess that is what I have to do. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, guys. This is
Yeah.
this is our launch, so this is all kind of new. So, mark the cobwebs. I don't know who am I. I am Lana Quest, and
Yep.
I am here, and I'm so happy to be on Black and White.
That is correct. We
That's
have
it.
named the show Black and White.
We have named
And
this now.
I
This is
mean,
what
I
it's called,
think
guys.
part of you could tell why we named it Black and White. We have a black woman, a white male. But of course, if you look at a black and white situation, it is
Right.
one of which that is easy to understand what is right and wrong.
Right.
So I think Lana and I are going to let everybody know what's right and wrong.
Yeah.
And if there's a disagreement with it, we'd like to hear about it. But we think we're right most of the time.
All of the time.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Get
be
it?
a little subtle with it, but you're right all the time.
Come on
So
now.
Lana and I had met. I did my podcast, and I was kind of fishing for people to listen to mine, and I reached into her DM and said, "Hey, this is my podcast. Would you mind listening?" And she actually listened. She sent me a message back, and
Yep.
that's where I discovered she was on YouTube, and I was able to watch her. I was like, "She is really good." So from there, I asked you to be on my show quite a few times, and we have
Yep.
discussed many different things from politics to
Yep.
social issues
Mhm.
and current events, and that's what we're going to do here on this show. So we hope everybody enjoys it. There is a comment section. If anybody is actually on, you can make any comments. We'll try to react to them as quickly as we can. But one of the first things I want to talk to you about, I talked to Lana a little bit about what we were going to talk about. And she kind of likes she likes spontaneous, to be a little spontaneous,
Yeah.
spontaneity,
Yeah.
if you will. So she knows who Tommy Tuberville is, and Tommy Tuberville has been in the news lately. If you don't know who Tommy Tuberville is by now, he is a senator from Alabama. He used
Mhm.
to be a college football coach. He was actually a college football coach for what my beloved Miami Hurricanes at one point, won 3 national championships with
Mm.
them as an assistant coach and a defensive coordinator. But now he's a senator of Alabama, and he's gotten himself in a little bit of trouble with not just the Democratic Party, but the Republican Party has a few issues on some of the things that he has said lately. There's 2 things that he's been in the news for. One,
Boy.
he is holding up some nominations to the military
Yep.
because of the military's policy on abortion.
Wow.
After the Supreme Court overturned the nationwide right to abortion, the Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin issued a policy last October that said he would ensure all troops would have reproductive health care access to it. And so he is holding up these nominations to the military because he objects to the abortion
Yep.
policy of
Yep.
the military. And it's a lot of people are saying that I just sound like Donald Trump. A lot of people are saying, and I think I did the hand motion.
All
So
of the people, those people.
there, yeah. So that it is a national security threat, and what he's doing is a little bit over the top. Did you see anything about this?
Yes, I did, and
Okay.
I have a lot to know. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
But no, this is awful, right? He's been, and this isn't new. Tommy Tuberville has
Mhm.
been holding up these things for quite some time. Like it's just now getting more traction, but these promotions have been held up for quite some time. The thing about this is that like he's just so pissed that the military, right, is going to reimburse women for travel to get a medical procedure.
Correct.
In the military, you do not get to decide what base you're going to be at, right?
Correct.
So if you're in a state that offers this medical procedure and then you find yourself being stationed in Texas or Alabama and their shitty insurance. Like, can I say shitty?
You absolutely
Okay.
100%. On my show, you absolutely can.
Like, so,
Or
like,
I shouldn't say on my show. On our show, I'm just saying yeah.
right. So, like, it just on its face is so ridiculous when you don't even get to choose, and you're not. And the lie is the military is paying for abortions. No, that's not the truth. It's travel.
That's correct. And they always pass themselves off as the military
Right.
party, and to not
Exactly.
they're saying Joe Biden is
Yep.
weakening our military. This actually is weakening the military,
Absolutely.
because you are having people in positions who really shouldn't be there. They're there temporarily filling in these positions right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And because of this stance, and this one senator who is holding this up because of his stance on abortion, is endangering our military.
Right.
So now, did you hear his comments about white nationalists?
Oh, see, I did, but
Okay.
I didn't hear it all. I
So
know. Yeah, I know some of
I've got a
it.
transcript here. I'm trying to learn how to play clips on this thing, and I'm eventually going to learn how to do it. I found one little clip. I'm going to try that later. It might be a disaster, but let me go over. He was on with Caitlin Collins on CNN, and she was asking him about white nationalism. And this is how the interview went. It might take a minute here, but this is the transcript. This is Tommy Tuberville and then Caitlin Collins going back and forth. My guess is you'll be able to figure out which one is Tommy Tuberville and which one is Caitlin Collins. So this is Tommy Tuberville. He says
Okay.
he's totally against anything to do with racism. But the thing about being a white nationalist is just a cover word for the Democrats now, where they can use it to try to make people mad across the country. Identity politics. I'm totally against that, but I'm for the American people. I'm for the military. We just discussed that. I'm not really sure he is. I'm for Christian conservatives, Democrats, whoever wants to be in the military to fight for this country, to protect this country. That's what it's all about. Caitlin Collins says, but just to be clear, you agree that white nationalists should not be serving in the U.S. military. Is that what you're saying? If people think that a white nationalist is racist, I agree with that. I would agree they shouldn't. But a white nationalist is someone who believes that the white race is superior to other races. Well, that's some people's opinion. And I don't think, I mean a lot. Caitlin Collins interrupts. It's not my opinion. And then she asks, what is his opinion? And he says, my opinion of a white nationalist is somebody wants to call them a white nationalist, to me, is an American. It's an American. Now, if that white nationalist is a racist, I'm not totally against anything that they want to do, because I am 110%. He put it 110% against racism. But I want somebody that's in our military, that's strong, that believes in this country, that's an American, that will fight along with anybody, whether it's man, woman, black, white, red. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make any difference. And so I'm totally against identity politics. I think it's ruining this country. And I think that Democrats ought to be ashamed of how they're doing this, because it's dividing this country and it's making the country weaker every day. Caitlin Collins says, but that's not identity politics. You said a white nationalist is an American. And he says it's identity politics. You said a white nationalist is an American, but a white nationalist is someone who believes horrific things. You don't. Do you really think that someone who should be serving in the military? I'm almost done. He says, well, that's just a name that it's been given. She says, it's not. It's a real. And he says, I mean, listen. She says, it's a real definition. The real concerns about extremism. By the way, the actual definition of white nationalist is one of a group of militant white people who espouse white supremacy and advocate enforced racial segregation. So he goes on to say, so if you're going to do away with most white people in this country out of the military, we've got huge problems. Finally, she says, it's not people who are white, it's white nationalists. And he says, they have a few probably different beliefs. And she says, do you see the distinction? And he says, they have different beliefs. Now, if racism is one of those beliefs, I'm totally against it. I'm totally against racism. And then he says a few more things about the opinion. And that's where Tommy Tuberville stands on white nationalism. He doubled down on it. It wasn't just that interview. He doubled down on it 2 or 3 times when asked about it. Thoughts?
I don't even know what my thoughts are. Like, it's what they're doing is insidious, and this isn't, what Tommy Tubbs is saying and doing is not like in a vacuum, and it's not lost on me because there's a bigger picture here. And it's not a coincidence that, the House insurrectionists passed their defense bill and slid in there, like, not paying for the travel, getting rid of the diversity programs in the military, getting rid of the trans in the military. Like, of course, that was slid in there because ultimately, the thing about Republicans is they tell us what they want and what they're going to do.
Yes.
And Democrats, at some point, and we're getting wiser, we have to believe them. Because they waited a long time to get Roe v. Wade to be gone. Like, they were very patient.
That is absolutely correct. I mean, 50 years patient.
They were very patient. So they don't want women in the military. He is absolutely right. They want a military of white nationalists. Like, no brainer.
Yeah.
Like, no women, no trans, no blacks.
Yeah. And he also used the old, well, I was a football coach, so nobody can be, I'm the least racist person. Almost did the Donald Trump thing. He's the least racist person because he hung out with young black men as a football coach.
Because he's the least racist because he made money off of the backs of black young men.
Yeah. And I can tell you, I mean, there is, and I live in the South in Florida. By the way, you live up in Massachusetts. Everybody should know that. You're more up north. I'm down south here. And I'm a huge college football fan. I've been a college football fan my whole life. And there is still a bit of the good old boy network when it comes to college football and a lot of things in the South. And I'm not saying it's the old racist South that you saw in the 30s, 40s, and even beyond, before that. But there is still that sense that there is a superiority complex in a way with some people. Absolutely. And, Tommy Tuberville is obviously filling that mold. It appears as if he's basically telling us that's who he is without really coming out and saying
it. And it's not even appearing. Like, Tommy is not a fool. Tommy's from Alabama, right? This isn't like kind of, sort of in the deep South. He's in the deep South. Yeah. Like, they're still Robert E. Lee celebrating that stuff. Like, there's no question. He knows who David Duke is. He's going to play that Donald Trump. I don't know who that guy is. Like, Tommy knows. Tommy knows about cross burnings. Like, he knows what he's talking about. There's
no question. As I said, it's another sort of dog whistle thing from the right that we actually see a lot. And, it's funny because, I'm going to read you something else here. Do you know who Charlie Kirk is?
Yeah. Well, I guess he's not an incel, but he reminds me of an incel.
I wouldn't be shocked if he wasn't. He's one of these podcasters, and I was going to say, you ever talk to somebody and they say something like, you're not allowed to say that anymore? Like, oh, you wouldn't get away with saying that, if you said something today, you'd say back in the old days, something was said, you'd say you'd never be able to say that anymore because they're almost saying it like, I'm not allowed to be an asshole anymore. I'm not allowed to say racist things anymore. I'm not allowed to say misogynistic things anymore. And they're turning it into this woke thing.
Right.
But on the opposite side, there's a lot of things that you are allowed to say, it appears, that can make you millions of dollars. I want to read to you what Charlie Kirk just recently said. And this is in regards to the Supreme Court case that overturned affirmative action for college admissions.
Oh, boy.
He said 3 weeks ago, if we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. He added, you had to go steal a white person's slot to be taken somewhat seriously. And then he finishes it up with, it's very obvious to us that you were not smart enough to be able to get in on your own. Lana, what do you think?
Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
What is any of that word salad? So,
By the way, real quick before you finish your thought, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm going to go back and look, I think Charlie Kirk was a college dropout.
right, like whose slot did Katanji fill? Because what? Like, what is he talking about? Like, I don't even know what any of that meant. He's saying like they're hypocrites because now they're saying like affirmative action help me, but affirmative action doesn't help me. Like, is that because he doesn't understand what affirmative action is? Because affirmative action doesn't even mean black. Like, that doesn't mean black.
Correct.
Because right now the legacy students are getting affirmative action.
Correct.
Affirmative action. It's helping them. Like, so what are we talking about right now? Like when we're talking about affirmative action, and by the way, white women,
yep,
affirmative action.
I was just about to say, actually, white women have benefited more
yes,
from affirmative action than any other group.
Absolutely, because Black people are still not able to get these slots. And then it's like, and of course, Charlie Kirk would say this if he's dropped out, because they don't understand the whole process of even being admitted in college or Harvard. Like, if 40% is going to legacy, that means that there's only 60% left. It's not 60% of people in Massachusetts. It's not 60% of people in Florida. It's not even 60% of slots left for the United States. You're talking about in the world, right? So like out of the world, it's not just picking people from the United States. They're getting people from all walks of life. Like, so there are only a limited number of slots, and Black people, even though they are qualified, are still not getting the slots, but affirmative action is helping them get 2 of the slots.
When we talk about the legacy, the other thing about the legacy admissions, and if anybody doesn't know what the legacy admissions is, it's basically anybody that gets admitted to a university based on who their dad was, their grandfather, their grandfather's grandfather, or maybe how much money they have donated to the college. Makes it a little easier for you to get in, even if you don't qualify at all to get in. I mean, like I said, George W. Bush was
exactly mediocre students, right?
Yeah, at best, and got in. Yeah. So, with that said, there's a lot of people in the Black community, and anybody that from affirmative action, they don't have that legacy admission. The opportunity to do that because their father, their grandfather, and their grandfather weren't even allowed to be in that school. Forget about affirmative action or legacy. They have no legacy.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And you were talking about Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk understands his audience. And I think sometimes even a lot of these guys, they'll bring up a particular point. Right. They'll ramble on about it. They might not even believe in their own point, but they know how to make millions of dollars. It's the Jerry Springer of politics is basically what it is. And you just spew out whatever nonsense that will generate crazy people listening to this stuff. And sharing it and loving it and thinking it's the greatest thing ever. So, that's where I go back to say, you're not allowed to say that stuff anymore. But some of the stuff that people say nowadays, they're getting away with it. And quite frankly, some of the stuff that I hear now, you might not have been able to say back in the old days. But for some reason now you're allowed to say this stuff. We have a guy who is the leader of the Republican Party, the nomination for president, said, you can assault women basically and get away with it because you're a star. I can shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue. Yeah. I mean, what president would have been able to say that? If they even said anything, an eighth of that, they would have been out of the race.
Yeah, they're making America great again. Like,
Yeah,
remember that. Like,
right.
and they're trying to take America back to its origin, and that was the origin of America. Like all
Mhm.
this racism and bigotry and misogyny. That's exactly. He didn't just make that up. Like they're really trying to get it back there.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that Republican field, there was some very interesting news that has just came out that Joe Biden basically he's fundraising.
Yeah.
He out fundraised, I guess is the word, every single Republican nominee by
Mhm.
himself. So if you add up everybody, the stats here, Donald Trump in the Republican field, he raised $35 million. I think that was the last quarter.
Mhm.
Ron DeSantis was 20.1 million.
Mhm.
Nikki Haley was 7.3. Tim Scott was 6.1. Vivek Ramaswamy, 2.3
Good
million.
job. Good
Yeah.
job. I
And
would have
Chris
never said
Christie,
that.
1.7. If you add all that up, Joe
Yeah.
Biden raised more money than all of them combined. Now, to be fair, a lot of that money, because it comes from the Democratic National
Right.
Committee, and
Right.
a lot of that money is lumped in with the money that goes directly to Joe
Right.
Biden,
Right.
where the money from the Republican side doesn't necessarily show in these
Right.
numbers.
Right.
So that's to be fair. But that being said, there's for a couple reasons that's a big deal. Joe Biden's getting a huge head start on this
Mhm.
entire field.
Right.
And I've heard some Republican people not too thrilled with Donald Trump, and they almost want him out of the race because some of them don't feel like he's going to be there. I'm one of them who feels like he's not going to be there.
Right.
And he is holding back more fundraising for a lot more of these Republican candidates.
Right.
And, again, that's a
Yeah.
benefit
Yeah.
to Joe Biden and the
Yeah.
Democrats. For as long
Yeah.
as that goes on, I hope he stays in forever.
It
So,
sucks the life out of the Republican Party. By DeSantis out here firing his staff because he's not doing that great.
yeah, I don't think it's the staff that he needs to worry about or fire. I think he maybe just need to fire himself because
It's true, so
I
true.
see. I live in Florida, and I've seen this guy. I've heard him speak, and I knew who he was before
Mhm.
everybody nationally.
Mhm.
Not me personally. I mean, I just
Right, right.
know, and a lot of people got to know him nationally.
Mhm.
And I was telling people here in Florida, this guy has a 0% chance of winning. They're like, I mean, there are literals just like Donald Trump. There are DeSantis flags around
Yeah.
here. There's, people flying the flags. And around Florida at one particular point, he was the king. And some
Mhm.
people were like, I might like this guy more than Donald Trump.
Right.
And I said, I'm telling you, he has no chance. He's
Mhm.
awkward. He's
Yeah.
weird. Even
Yeah.
his own staff doesn't particularly care for him. They think he's awkward and weird. And that is proving out even way more than I had
Right.
even anticipated.
Yeah. He and his weird wife.
Yeah.
Ab- ab-
Oh,
Absolutely. He is
she's
just
a strange one.
yeah, they just are, and it's just so weird. He doesn't even know where he wants to stand. He's like right of Donald Trump, and how can he be right of Donald Trump? It's like carve out your own path. You would have done better. Not that I care about Ron
Yeah.
DeSantis. I'm glad that he's just getting pummeled because he's an asshole.
Yeah. He
He's
really is.
awful. And down everything as he goes. He's not going to let DeSantis do that. He's just not going to. You saw, was that whatever they just had? Was that a rally or whatever? No, it was some
Yeah.
type of
They had a convention.
event. Yeah,
Yeah.
booing
One of those.
everybody,
Yeah.
booing everyone.
Yep.
Everyone got booed. So that is an indication that if it's not Trump for them,
Yep.
they're not going to come out.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly the MAGA party,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere. We talked earlier about, the overturning of Roe versus Wade. The Republican Party waited out a very long time. They actually got what they wanted with this
Yeah.
MAGA party in 2016, and they are convinced they can get it back again.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced, and I know I'm not saying it's a done deal, and I'm not
Right.
saying that the Democrats are a slam dunk to win.
Right.
But I do believe overall the country says, I have two choices. I don't particularly love them, although I'm going to tell everybody, let me interrupt myself for really quick. I don't care what show I'm on, what podcast I'm doing. If I'm doing a podcast on pie baking, which I wouldn't be able to say anything, but here's one thing I will contribute. I am telling everybody that Joe Biden is a phenomenal president.
Right.
And any more of this, well, I don't know about Joe Biden. Why don't you know about Joe Biden?
Why
Joe
don't
Biden has
you
done
know?
everything right. Yeah, okay, you'll see him every once in a while. He'll stumble over his words. He'll look a little lost. You know, he's like, oh, he's kind of like the grandpa, the fun grandpa kind of thing. But everything he's done has been fantastic. Now, if you want to argue whether or not all of that should be contributed to him, you know, that's somewhat of a valid argument. But you know what? A year and a half ago, when all the Republicans were saying that inflation was Joe Biden's fault,
Exactly. Right.
and because of his policies, I would ask them just one question. My question would be, okay, if inflation is now down to 4%,
right,
how could it possibly, if it was because of his policy, wouldn't inflation continue to rise?
exactly.
I mean, it's a pretty simple math equation. You don't have to be an economic expert to kind of put that one together, no?
Or any of it. You know, people just, I don't know what's wrong with people, to be honest with you, because I get so confused and frustrated on social media platforms to hear people complain, well, what has Biden done? It's like, are we serious right now? You got those checks in the mail during the pandemic or directly deposited. So
he didn't sign his name to it. That's the problem.
Right. So it started there. The child poverty is at its all-time low. Unemployment is at its all. And the child poverty is because he was giving the child tax credits ahead of time. They had the brilliant idea to do that so that people didn't starve. They put the moratorium so that you didn't lose your mortgages and your apartments and your homes. Like, we need to chips that, pack that.
Well, how about even the Republicans who are touting the Infrastructure Act that is bringing the roads and bridges to their town, and they're celebrating it, but they leave out one little caveat there.
Exactly.
It was because of Joe Biden.
Joe Biden.
Yeah. And I think Joe Biden's an easy fodder. You know, he's an old guy, and he sounds, every once in a while he looks like he can get confused. So I think people stick with that because it's just easier. It's easier to relate to rather than actually looking at the facts, and rather than saying, wait a minute, maybe this guy is doing a pretty damn good job. And let's not forget, and people might every once in a while think this is a bad thing, but Joe Biden's been in politics for a very long time.
Absolutely.
And especially on the international side of politics, almost nobody is better than Joe Biden.
Absolutely.
As an international representative for the United States of America. Almost nobody.
Yeah. And he's an attorney.
Yeah.
Attorney, senator, vice president. Are y'all joking? Right.
So there was another little thing about that fundraising that I thought was a positive thing for Joe Biden. It says that the Biden campaign said that 30% of the donations that past quarter were from new donors, from people who did not give to Joe Biden in 2020. So that's an encouraging sign, because you need more of that, because you're talking about the guy who got the most votes in the history of the United States. And yes, anybody that's watching this that is a Trump supporter, he 100% got 81 million plus votes. Correct. That too. 100%. But yeah, he got 81 million votes. And if he's getting donations from more people that did not vote for him the last time, that's a very encouraging sign.
Let's go Gen Z, because we know that y'all are out here.
There's absolutely no question. And you know what? Yeah. Quite frankly, Gen Z is going to be a big difference maker, because I do believe, you know, as the older people get older and, you know, you have younger people coming in to vote, they are way more on the side of, you know what, I'm not here to bash Black people, gay, transgender, you know, that's not cool to me. I just, you know, and I see this and I'm like, well, I see one side doing it, and I see the other one not doing it, and they're defending one and the other one's not. It's pretty simple, choice for them. And, you know, quite frankly, even if you don't like Joe Biden, you're telling me that you think that Donald Trump is a better candidate than anybody. That's one thing I'll never understand. But I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and trying to figure out and understand something that just is not understandable is you gotta at some point just move on from it and just do your best to move forward and try to get maybe one or two people to say, hey, maybe you're looking in the wrong direction. Let me tell you why. And hopefully it changes some people's mind. And if anybody wants to come up to me and go, no, Brian, you're looking in the wrong direction. Here's why. I'm all ears. Right. I'm all ears to listen to it. You tell me why, and then we'll have that discussion.
Yeah, no policy, no nothing, just Trump because he's a victim, I guess.
Yeah. If you had to, let's say gun to your head, or let's not make it so dire here. If somebody said, I'll give you $100 million, but you have to vote for one of those Republicans.
Stop playing right now. Shoot
Who
me.
would you vote for?
Jesus.
You have to pick one.
One that's running or one I can just choose from the sky?
One that's running. Yeah. Don't pick your next door neighbor.
One that wouldn't. I don't even. It would be Chris. I think Chris Christie or Nikki Haley. Yeah,
that's the right answer. We were talking earlier about what's right and wrong, and again, you got it right. We said everything that we say is going to be right. That's the right answer. It's Chris Christie, and Chris Christie is a C- at best,
right,
candidate.
But sense. Like
the one thing about him, at least, he is not part of. Well. Now he's not part of the MAGA movement. I think he sees an opening. So again, just like a Charlie Kirk, they'll make they'll kind of fit their whatever fits the narrative at the time that may or may not help them.
Yeah. No, it would be Chris Christie.
I don't hate hearing Chris Christie bash Donald Trump.
No, I low-key love it, but I hate when he throws in the lies about Democrats, right? Like he'll bash Trump and then he'll be like, and look at the economy. Joe Biden is messing up the economy. It's all going to trash. And in New Jersey, they're having abortions at any month. Like, no, they're not. Chris.
You're right. I don't like hearing, because first of all, I don't like hearing any Republicans talk because it's all Democratic bashing. But in fairness, if he's going to go down the road of I'm the anti-Trump candidate, he still has to appeal to somebody that's going to vote for him. And he's got to make that message that I'm going to throw out the fake facts about Joe Biden's inflation and gas prices and all that stuff. And so that way you still see I'm one of you. But I'm not down with this Donald Trump stuff. And let me tell you why it's a bad idea to put him back in office.
Right.
So we both agree on Chris Christie.
Agreed.
All right. There's another thing that just came out. Very interesting. Did you see the top 10 worst states to live in?
I don't need to see it. I go on and say it because I could just guess.
Do you want to guess a couple of the states? Do you want to try?
The top 10 worst states to live in?
Yep. Now, okay, before you do that.
Oh, because I was about to go.
I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
It's from a CNBC study.
Okay.
They found the 10 worst states to live in. Now, there is 10 different factors that they added into this equation to come up with. They didn't just pick 10 states.
Okay.
They came up with an equation. There's 10 of them. I'm going to tell you the 10 equations that they came up with to come up with this final number.
Okay.
So, and by the way, I'm doing this in order in the way it was weighted. So, number one, it was weighted the highest to number 10 being the lowest. Okay. Number one is workforce.
Okay.
Yep. Number two is infrastructure.
Okay.
Number three is the economy. Mm-hmm. Number four is life, health, and inclusion. Mm-hmm. No, you'd be surprised how many times the inclusion part was one of the worst factors on these top 10 states. Cost of doing business, technology and innovation, business friendliness, education's number 8. tells me that needs to move up the list.
Yeah. Sure.
Access to capital and cost of living. Now, they also use data from every state's primary economic development arm and from the most recent annual comprehensive financial report, the ACFR, issued in every state. So again, this was a pretty detailed list and how they came up with these particular states. So, Lana, this is our first game.
Yeah, I love games.
Name the top 10 worst states to live in.
Okay, I'm going to go with Mississippi.
Let's see. Mississippi is not on the list.
Get the hell out of here. Okay.
Wow.
And I don't know how.
All right, you get 3 strikes.
I know they have the highest teen birth rates. So I don't even know. They barely have indoor plumbing. So.
Maybe, you know what? They're probably 11.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
That's right. You're right. Okay. Louisiana.
Louisiana is number 3.
Okay. Alabama.
Alabama comes in at number 4, and they are tied.
Okay. Louisiana, Alabama. Kentucky.
Kentucky is not on the list. That's strike number 2.
It's got to be down there in 14 or something.
It's 12, yeah.
Hold on. Arkansas.
Arkansas is number 8.
Oh, good. Arkansas. Did I say Tennessee?
You did not say Tennessee. Is that a guess?
Yes.
That is number 7.
Okay. Wow. I thought it would be easier.
I mean, you've named some pretty solid states that potentially in the top 10.
Georgia. Oh, shit.
Georgia is not.
Yeah,
Georgia's a blue state now.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's true. I was going by the abortion. That's my 3rd strike.
That's your 3rd strike. Now, because I'm generous, you ever play those old video games where you can add an extra man if you get a certain amount of points or something like that?
All right.
I'm going to give you one more strike.
Okay, one more strike. Let's go with.
I love that you're really thinking about this.
I am. Wyoming?
I like it.
Wyoming?
Huh?
Wyoming?
No.
Damn.
No. All right. So I'm going to help you with the rest of the list.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to start at number 1 and go all the way down to
go ahead.
To the last one.
Well, who's number 1?
So the number 1 worst state to live in, this was actually a little bit of a surprise to me, was Texas.
So that is a surprise because it is a worse state, but I thought like the economy and work and infrastructure wasn't that bad, but
yeah, Texas is number 1, and that's the state that, you know, when Ted Cruz and all these guys want to talk about Gavin Newsom in California, they're saying, you know, everybody's moving to Texas now.
Oh, hell no. They can't even keep their grid on. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. So, okay. Number 2, Oklahoma.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You got number 3, Louisiana. 4 was Alabama, tied with South Carolina.
South Carolina. Yeah.
You had to think of something with South in it. Number 5 was Missouri.
Shit, Virginia.
Number 6 was Mike Pence's state, Indiana.
Makes sense.
You got 7 and 8, right? Tennessee and Arkansas. Oh, I'm sorry. 8 and 9. That was 8 and 9.
Okay.
You know who number 10 was? You're going to love it.
New Mexico?
Nope.
Florida.
Yeah, that's right. Florida was number 10 as the worst state to live in. So when you have these governors like Ron DeSantis and the Texas governor, Greg Abbott, they're screaming about California all the time and New York, what a shithole it is to live there. They round out the top 10 at number 1 and number 10. And if you also notice, every single one of those states are Republican-led states, every single one of them.
Yeah. Well, it's unbelievable. Just ranking the worst states, the highest pregnancy, the lowest education, the worst healthcare. Like, but that's by design. They
Yeah.
want them like that, and that's how they get these voters. It's so wow. Like
It
it's
is mind blowing, and it just
right.
you would think that somewhere somehow they say maybe we should try something different. Is it 100% going to work? Does the Democratic Party have all the answers to everything? They don't. But part of that, I think they do have the right answers in so many different ways,
Right.
but you can only do so much based on how Congress is. But and I've heard you talk about this on your show a lot. You like to talk a little bit about how it's not just important to get involved in these national races. It's very important to get involved in these local races.
Right.
We've talked about this on my podcast. You're
Yeah.
running for your local city council too,
City
aren't you?
council.
Yeah, yeah. See, and so you are actually getting involved, and it's important that I think it's more than just the national things, and I think that's the things that most people want to listen to because that's what most people talk about. That's easier to scroll and find on Twitter, and you see a lot of memes, and it's easy to read memes, so you get your political,
Right.
whole political sense from memes now and headlines on Twitter. And it's kind of silly, but that list that I just read, I talked to you earlier about
Yeah.
how I live in the South. It sounded to me like the top 10 college football teams too. the way I read that list. So they'd have something to be proud of there at least. But
Wow.
are you on Threads? Did you move over to Threads?
So I have an account over there, but
It's slow. I mean, obviously. I mean, are you of the mindset? But first of all, I want to make sure I got it right this time. You have 50,000 and a half followers on Twitter
I know
now.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one thing you need to teach me how to get that. Cause I battled to 3,000, got them pretty quick, and now it's stagnant. But Twitter
Yeah.
sucks now. And that's part of why I bring this up, because I'm not a fan of Mark Zuckerberg, but if he can just beat the hell out of Elon Musk. And quite frankly, I mean figuratively, I don't mean
Right.
literally, because if they actually did fight like they're talking about, I have zero interest in watching that nonsense.
Right.
But just to see Elon Musk suffer would be just fantastic for me.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think rich people problems. I just think that a lot of the drama is ginned up for our benefit. Like, I don't know. Like, to me, like, because Elon knew that Zuckerberg was going to drop Threads.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they started like, hey, let's get in the ring and do this fight. Like, that was them ginning this up.
Yeah.
That's like what rich people do. And then we're all caught in the middle. That's just how I feel. I don't trust Zuckerberg as much as I don't trust Elon, because Facebook was a mess. So who the hell is trusting Zuckerberg to, like, I don't none of it. And
I agree. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. The only thing I would say is I don't think that this is something that was set up or anything by the two of them, because I don't think Elon Musk is happy about this at all. He spent $44 billion to buy this company that's worth what, 13 billion now? I may not even be worth that much at this point.
That is true.
And that's a major loss. And a lot of the money that he used was basically borrowed money. It's not, money that he just reached in his bank account and said, here's 44 billion. So I don't care who you are. You don't, if you're a billionaire, you don't want to lose $1 billion, much less tens of billions.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan. Maybe it'll get better. I'm not a fan of talking into the void. Like, I don't like that. I don't like to talk to a whole bunch of people who are like-minded. I don't see the purpose of that. That's why, like, Post, Tribal, all the rest of them, it's like, I don't like it here, because I'm talking to people who agree. Like, that's just not the purpose. It's good to spar with a MAGA every now and again or whatever. Those things are good. Maybe you'll cut through some stuff, maybe you won't. Who cares? But it's better than talking to like-minded individuals. Like, who am I telling to vote? People who already are going to vote. Like, who am I talking to right now? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
That is an excellent point. But I think the only unfortunate thing is something like Twitter or Threads or anything like that is it's hard to get a point across to somebody in a genuine way because it's so toxic on there that, every once in a while you might be able to reach somebody. And maybe if you can reach 1, 2, 3 people, it is a benefit, but it's just so toxic that people are almost going in there with their guard up, looking for a fight,
I love it.
On these websites.
Okay.
Well, I did. Listen, I'm all for that. I'm all for that. But like you said too, part of it is we do want to change some minds. I mean, I really do. I want to do everything I can to change some minds. And again, if somebody can change my mind on it, I welcome you. But I've yet to have a cogent, intelligent response or conversation with somebody that tells me that Joe Biden really didn't get 81 million votes, that Hillary Clinton has people murdered. I can't have those conversations. We got our first comment here. DJ just asking, Elon sucks more than Mark. And that's basically what I was saying. I agree. I mean, it's just one of those things that
he does.
If you have to pick the lesser two, you remember the game we played earlier
about picking I'm not picking threads. I'm just, my politicians are on Twitter. Yeah. That's where I'm going to be.
So you're staying with Twitter.
Yeah, they need our help. Like Nancy Pelosi's being attacked. We're just all going to threads. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. We need to stay on and we need to keep their messages going. Threads, there's no you can't you can't get rid of the app.
Correct.
You can only deactivate it. Yep. Now I got crazy people trying to get on my Instagram because now they know your Instagram name. So they start, mine is locked. So they're requesting a follow because they see you on Threads. So I don't like that connection with Instagram. Yeah. You can't DM anyone. You can't set up groups there. Like I don't. And
you also can't. You can't. Like I can't go on my laptop and pull it up.
Yeah, so I don't like, you have to, I don't know what you're paying extra for. The check mark, newsflash, is more than Twitter. So the check mark on Threads is $14.99.
I didn't even know there was a check mark on Threads.
Yeah, you can pay for a check mark on Threads. That costs more than the one on Twitter. I don't even know what it entails. I have no idea. I just know that you can only, again, when I try to copy and paste what I did on Twitter onto Threads, I find myself having to like change the words and make it smaller because of the characters. There's too many characters. Yeah. So like that whole thing, I do it.
Well, first of all, you've already built a following on Twitter, so there'd be no reason for you to leave. That's number one. Yeah. What I was saying earlier, I don't plan on leaving Twitter at all because I think you're right. We have to stay on there and maybe straighten out a few things here or there, or
fight to the end.
Yeah, but you will also be on Threads as well, and just be there and see how it grows, and then go from there. But you're right, in a way. Altogether, it's kind of gross and disgusting, the whole thing, because we are in the middle of billionaires just basically looking down at us and going, look at these clowns arguing with each other.
Yeah. And what I don't like on Threads, like I'll go on and I'm like, it's like you can't really control what you're seeing. So I'm seeing like people bake cupcakes. I'm seeing like just these strange, I don't know, things that I don't care about. It's like,
you don't have 50,000 followers on Threads too, do you?
No.
Okay, I was going to say that would drive me nuts.
No way.
I'm definitely doing something wrong.
No, that is impossible. Like I just got on, like I have like 182, and I didn't even have a lot of people on. See, people who have a lot on Threads, well, obviously if you're like a journalist or somebody, I'm nobody, but I think if you have a lot of followers on Instagram, if they follow you over to Threads because they're getting the invite, then you'll have thousands of followers.
Sure.
But I didn't have a lot on Instagram because those things were private. Facebook and Instagram I use for your friends.
Correct.
And school and family, so I don't.
Yeah, you're definitely interacting a different way in Facebook than you are the other
Twitter,
ones,
right?
Yeah.
You're like, fuck off of my time.
Right. Oh yeah, some of the things I'll say on Twitter, I won't necessarily say on Facebook. And I've been in some, I've definitely been in some conversations on Facebook. I try to keep it as civil as I can. Yeah. I'll definitely give my opinion on things, but what I will do is on social media networks like that, I would be a little bit more. I'm certainly not going to curse at them. I'm not going to, tell them they're idiots and all that stuff. I don't think you really get anywhere because it's a little bit more of an intimate situation on Facebook.
Yeah.
On Twitter, it's a free for all.
It is.
It is, and it's I didn't think it could become more toxic than it has,
You're right.
It is about as toxic as it has ever been.
Because it's so hard to get any account banned. Like you can't get them suspended anymore. Like what's a slur on Twitter? Like I think cis now. Like I think that's the only thing. CIS. Like
And
that.
didn't Elon Musk buy this because he didn't like that people were they were censoring people, and that's the reason why he bought it, because he was like, I don't like the way Twitter's being run. It's being censored too much, so I'm going to buy it and I'm opening it up for everybody. But he makes particular rules. He's making it for countries. He's banning. He's making it for particular words.
Whatever. Right? It's just like what he runs Twitter like Trump ran the presidency. It's just like this is my document.
100%. There's no or like Trump runs his own business.
Right.
That's the other thing. It just drives me nuts how people don't understand how I'm not talking bad and I'm not saying anything out of school. Donald Trump was a horrific businessman. Horrific. I wish people would just look at the lineage of everything that he's done in business. Yeah. The best business move Donald Trump made was collecting money when his dad died. That's the best business move he ever made. Other than that, he has been awful.
Just bankruptcy after bankruptcy. Where's the hotel in DC he had?
It's funny that because you talk about he ran Twitter the way Donald Trump ran the presidency or his business. I always go back to this. Donald Trump built the Taj Mahal casino in New Jersey. I actually went to it when it was a big deal when it opened. And it came out later that he was so intent on getting this thing done. He didn't have the funding. So nobody would give him a loan because they knew that he wouldn't pay back his loans. Mm-hmm. So the only way he could build this Taj Mahal casino was to take out these junk bonds that had like 13-14% interest rates. And some guy wrote a story. It was some business magazine or economic magazine wrote a story, an article saying basically that he will do well in the very beginning, but there's a 0% chance he'll be able to sustain this. Long story short, he called the editor of the magazine, got the guy fired because he was so angry at the article. Turns out that everything that the guy said was correct. The guy sued Donald Trump. He did not say how much he got from Donald Trump, but he says, let's just put it this way, I live a pretty comfortable living right now. So, and that's Donald Trump's whole career, and that's his whole presidency. But there are people who actually think that this guy can come in on day one a year ago when inflation was 9.1, wave a magic wand and say, inflation's back to normal. Gas prices are $2. Ukraine war is over. They truly believe it because he says it.
President. He did not do it. That's
correct.
That's so frustrating, right? It's like Democrats are in the White House and they're like, oh God, the economy is horrible. Well, was it horrible with Trump or not? What do you got? Did you forget what was going on then? Like they forget and they're like, oh, because I remember when there were people who didn't want to vote for Biden, they're like, well, the economy, I'm voting for the economy. And it's like, but that guy? That guy?
Well, it also drives me nuts when they keep talking about voting for Republicans over Democrats for the economy. If you look, historically, Democrats are better for the economy than Republicans have been. But you know why they vote for them? Because they have ingrained in people's heads that they're the fiscally conservative party. And they spend way more money than Obama did, than Clinton. Actually, Clinton left office with a surplus. We had money in the bank when he left office. The only president ever. And then, of course, Bush comes in. He goes to war. Yeah. We have 9/11. We have all this stuff. Now, 9/11 is not his fault. I'm not blaming 9/11 on him by any means. But then we had the war that we should have never been in. We had the economic disaster with the housing market. All that stuff happened under his watch.
Right.
He left office. Obama had to take over a mess. Then Trump comes in, takes over. The economy for the first couple of years was good under Donald Trump, but it wasn't because of Donald Trump.
Right.
It was because he did nothing and he
Right.
just let everything go. And all he was doing was in his little canoe going down the nice, calm waters and didn't put his paddle in it.
Else created. That someone
Correct.
else created.
That's all he did. So you know what? If you want to give kudos to Donald Trump for doing nothing, but then of course he added to the debt on the only bill that he really passed, which was the tax cut for the millionaires and billionaires, and try to pass it off to his voters as, oh, they're going to be so mad at me for doing this. And just like, what are you talking about?
His voters are like, I don't like calling people dumb, but like,
no, this case is fine.
They just really dumb. Like, this is really bad. And sometimes you feel bad for them, and sometimes you're just like, okay, you got to get out the bubble, but they never will. Like, they just won't. And that's the sad part, because they really are hurting themselves. Like, I can't imagine someone getting so upset that Biden wants loans forgiven. It's like, you're not even mad about the loans forgiven. You're mad that Biden is doing it. If
that is
Trump
absolutely
was
correct.
Doing it, you would be for it. Like, that's what doesn't make the sense.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And, you know, I would say in fairness, but I do believe that if Donald Trump said, you know what, we're going to forgive student loans, I really don't think Democrats would come out and go, no, that's garbage. I can't believe you're doing that to make it. I really think they'd say, well, thank you. Finally, that you're doing something that we all think is a great idea.
Absolutely. We would probably argue the amount. AOC would want
that's exactly what would happen. That's exactly right.
Forgiven in the future, right? Like her and Bernie Sanders. But like,
no question. Yeah, they would make sure that college is covered for the next 100 years for everybody. Yeah. So that's exactly right. And I agree with you. So we're coming towards the end of our very first show. What did you think? Did we do okay?
We did good.
Yeah.
I liked it.
All right. So I'm going
to be good. Like,
yeah, I think so too. So I'm going to attempt something here. I don't know if it's going to work.
All right.
Okay. But there is a new ad to leave the show that I want to show everybody if you have not seen it. It's a pretty racy ad. So if there's kids in the room, get them out. But it's a racy ad, but it is pretty darn good. And let's see if we can actually play this here. All right, hold on. Don't laugh at me, Lana. Oh, can you see that?
Oh, yeah.
Can you see it? Starting off pretty good.
DA's in the chat. He's seeing it too. This is his favorite ad.
All right, here we go.
Do you have a condom?
Sorry, you can't use those.
What are you talking about? Who are you?
I'm your Republican congressman. Now that we're in charge, we're banning birth control.
This is our decision, not yours. Get out of our bedroom.
I won the last election. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to watch and make sure you don't do anything illegal.
Fantastic. What'd you think?
I think they told us, like, this is a great ad, because they've been telling us they want to be in our bedrooms. They've been and in the doctors.
Yeah.
Remember what's his face? Dr. Oz?
Yeah.
Made that slip up and said he thinks lawmakers should be in the doctor's office.
Yeah.
There you go, in the bedrooms. Yeah.
It's a great ad. And
great
before we go, I want to give myself a lot of kudos because I didn't think that I was going to be able to
You
pull that
did
off.
it.
Look
You
at that.
did. Yes, you did.
God.
See, now you're going to be a pro for the next time.
Oh,
you're gonna
wait
have,
until you see what I can come up with. Now that I learned that, it's on now. It is on. So, all right. So we are going to wrap up this show. Lana, as always, I love talking to you. And actually, I get to see you. Usually it's on a podcast where it's just audio, but we get to see each other here, and I appreciate you being on with me. We were doing the kickoff show on Monday. Can you and I have a little podcast meeting right here? We'll do it live.
Yeah, let's go.
I kind of would. What do you think? Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday? What works best for you? What night?
Tuesday. Wednesday. I mean, kind of don't want to do Wednesday if I'm doing show Thursday.
You don't want to do it Wednesday?
Yeah, because I have my show Thursday. I think that would be 2 back-to-back.
So we're narrowing it down. We got it down to Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, Monday.
What do you think? Tuesday?
Which is good for you? Like, what do you? I don't Monday or Tuesday. Neither that it doesn't matter. Which one is better for you?
Let's do Tuesdays.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll do
Tuesdays
it now.
at 8?
From now on, every Tuesday. I know I couldn't do it this Tuesday or Wednesday, and I know you got your show Thursday. So that's why we decided to do it tonight. But for now on, anybody that is checking in live, we will be live every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. I also want to let everybody know that you can find Lana Quest on YouTube. Look up the Quest Show.
Yeah.
Yep. On YouTube, and you will find her there. She does her own show. She does interviews. She does a podcast by herself, which to me is, I don't know how she does it. I'll sit there and I would look right into that camera and start talking in the microphone, and half the things I'd say, I'm like, damn it, I don't know. And then start
No,
over.
he wouldn't. And you know something? Sometimes I write stuff down just to be proficient, and then I
Yes.
never look at it.
Yeah.
Or I can't see it, or I can't read the scribble, or like because when you're talking to people, you're talking and you're looking, and it's weird to start looking down as
Yes.
you're talking. So you
Well,
don't have a
that's what-
teleprompter up there. So that's
Yeah, I had all these, and you're right. It is kind of weird. It's kind of like, I don't know if you know, on Saturday Night Live, all the actors on there, the way they get their lines, and they've been doing this from the very beginning, is all on cue cards. So they're not ever looking at the camera. They're not even looking at the actor. They're just looking at these cue cards, reading it off. And that's how I feel with this.
Right, but at least they're placed at where they are looking that, and they're not looking down.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I love the show tonight. I think it was great talking to you, and we will see you guys hopefully on Tuesday at 8 o'clock next week. We will send out reminders, and then we'll go from there.
Yes,
All right.
sounds good. Love it.
All right.
Yay.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you. Bye, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.